Hello everyone and welcome back to Eve Market, your weekly look at the amarr market. We're just gonna start straight off with the prices, with the mineral prices as usual. We're beginning off with titanium. Titanium is starting to drop a bit here in price. We see a little bit ups and downs here in the middle of the week. Not really too much happening, it's just some smaller spikes up, but overall it is dropping. It's clearly below the 6x per unit. I think last week was sitting a little bit close to it. No, not, yeah, not. I had something in front of it, but it's not. Clearly started to drop here, even on the Friday, a pretty big drop, almost to 550. But after that, it went a little bit back up, and it looks like for between Saturday and now early Sunday, we're sitting about both days at the same price. So maybe starting to flat out here a little bit, and maybe starting to go back up again. Because titanium is sitting mostly around to 550. At least for the sellers, there are a pretty big amount of titanium on the market here, or even hundreds of millions. I see even on top there, not so many big ones, but after that we're clearly starting to see some big ones here. Even one 629 million units. That's pretty a lot of it. So we may see even more of a price down, but then again, there are also decent size buyers up. 5.80 for the sellers, that's a pretty low one, because the next one is above the 6 is even. So that's a pretty low one at the moment. And for the buyers, 5.57. That's only very little bit higher than last week's, as 5.51 was last week's price, so it hasn't gone up too much on that. And let's look at ferrite, because that one had last week a record bottom price. And it looks like ferrite has been dropping slightly even more in price on average per day. You can clearly see 20 days still dropping, 5 day is going a little bit up and down. About a week ago we're sitting around this point, so we may not see a record price, because it was really low. We're not even dropping below the 10.5 this week, so I think we will see an increase slightly in price, but there is still a drop in the price of ferrite. It is still dropping. Not that as fast, but it's going down. So expecting that also for the next week. For the seller's price, 10.80. For the buyer price, 9.14. That is a new record bottom price. Last week's price was 9.19. So we're now 9.14. So we have again a new record price on ferrite. And that's since the beginning of 2015. Is this a record price for ferrite? And then not too many orders up, so I'm expecting this one to start going up pretty soon. So getting a little bit a few more bigger ones. It should be nice if we see it next week below the 8 ISK, or below the 9 ISK per unit. Below the 8 ISK is not gonna be possible. But that should be nice, but I expected we're not gonna reach that. Then we go on for Maxillon. Maxillon had this week a little bit, last week even a little bit of drop at the end. We can clearly see now this week we're starting to go back up again. It was the 5 day only that made the drop. The 20 day did not care about it, went still on the same line up. But on average we're sitting pretty much here on the same price the whole week. A little bit higher, a little bit lower. It's not really doing a lot anymore, so it looks like we pretty much reached the top price here, and we're maybe gonna see it pretty soon, maybe in the next week, that the price is going back down again, because we're sitting a little bit higher than the normal price for Maxillon. Between 50 and 60 is more of a normal price. We're sitting now way above it, sitting above 70 even. So I think they definitely hit the highest price, and we'll probably see pretty soon a drop in price for Maxillon. 73.50 for the sellers, 63.87 for the buyers. That's still higher than last week. Last week's price was 58.96. So we see again an increase in this price for Maxillon. No record prices on that yet. Then oxygen. Oxygen was pretty stable, but definitely this week made suddenly in the beginning of the week an up in price around the 95 per unit. Even for one day we're sitting above that. We're starting to straight away drop after that again back to a normal price around the 90 is per unit for like 2 days. Just above it, that's the Friday and Saturday. See, the first day was still slightly high, but again for the Sunday now, it is early. It is already sitting a lot higher again, more like towards the 93 on that. So it is moving still. If it's gonna stay here, I cannot tell because it's too early for this day. What it's gonna do next week then? I think on the next week we may see here and there a spike in price, but on average it's gonna stay around the 90. That's what I'm thinking. If it's gonna happen is the next thing, next question, of course. 93.80 for the sellers. That's a pretty low one because the next one is 94. That's like 20 cents lower, but that's a big difference there for minerals. So 93.80 for the sellers. For the buyers, 88.18 on that. It's a slight drop in price, not really too much. 88.42 was last week's price. So that's a very slight drop on that. Then Noxium. Noxium had in the beginning of the week. Let's see, because we see also a drop. That's Friday, Thursday, Wednesday, Tuesday, Monday. Yeah, we had a pretty drop on the Sunday when I recorded the video last week. Price pretty dropped a lot, below the 420. Yeah, that's true. Indeed, below the 420. After that, the Monday we're starting to go back up, and we're seeing still a spike in it, heading toward the 470 for the price, and then suddenly for the last 3 days we're seeing very stable, around the 440 per unit. Really rapid moving here in like 5 days time, from very low to very high. So there's a pretty lot of activity suddenly. Someone sold a lot on the market, and then someone bought a lot on the market. Looks like it's probably getting this spike from it, and then it's at least on a very nice stabilize it. So on the next week it can go really both ways, can go up, go down. I'm hoping to see more of a flat, more of a stable line around the 440 for this, but I don't think we're gonna have that either. So we'll see really next week what's gonna happen on price. 450 for the sellers, 431.34 for the buyers. That is definitely an increase in price. 416.02 was last week's price, so we see definitely an increase in here in the price. Then we have Zyndred. Zyndred is still going up in price, but it seems to be stabilizing or even starting to make a drop again. It has been going up for at least a month now. But you can clearly here see for the last 3 days, even here a day, almost in the middle of the week, we made a drop in price. And then it recovered again straight away back up. But you can clearly see after that we starting to make a drop in price. So Zyndred is starting to drop in price. Still above the 1300 per unit at the moment. For the Sunday at the moment we're sitting already below that. We're sitting around the 1275 on the price for that now. So Zyndred is starting to drop in price. There's almost 1.3 million units of Zyndred here on the market. 1313.65 for the sellers, and for the buyers 1183.48. That is definitely a decent drop on price, because last week's price we were sitting pretty high on that. It was 1301. That was last week's price, so it has gone down pretty a lot. It's almost it has gone down for about 120 per unit drop, and that's a pretty decent drop on that for Zyndred. So I think in this one definitely is gonna start even drop more on the next week. Megasite on the other hand is still going up in price. It's clearly no sign of stopping on this one. We're above the 1500 even now. We are even heading towards the 1550 per unit. Very rapidly moving up. You see here and there some spikes in sales. Definitely here that stabilized the price a little bit, so someone sold a lot on the market that kept it calm a little bit for a few days. After that it's starting to get more activity again and the price is starting to go back up again. So it seems to be we have a little bit of a shortage of megasite here on the market because the price is getting pushed up. And I think this one also definitely going to keep on going next week on the increase in price. But if they get some supply on the market, we may see a drop in price because it is getting pretty high. Because the lowest it was the record bottom price was 700. So I think we are heading maybe pretty soon to a top price, and then it starts dropping because it is really high now. There are already here orders up for big size, 4.5 million units. That's a really big order up here. So they are starting to get bigger ones on the market already. So I think we're gonna see pretty soon starting to drop in price. 1598.68 for the sellers, and for the buyers 1405.20 on that. It is still an increase compared to last week's. 1310 was last week's price. So that is an increase in that. Not a record price because that's laying way higher. Then for the last mineral, it's gonna be more fight. We know it was already a record price last week, so I wonder what it's gonna be this week. Really high, we hit even 20,000 on the highest price this week. Lowest was 18,000, so 20,000 was high. Then it dropped again towards 18 for the last 2 days, sitting just above the 19,000 per unit. It looks like it's starting to stabilize a bit at the moment in price, so I'm expecting pretty soon this will starting to drop in price. It has been going up for almost a month now, so expecting this definitely pretty soon, maybe already next week, because it is already stabilized. We see already this is going to be the highest price, I'm pretty sure about it. As you see already now and then these drops and then back up, it's trying to drop in price, so it's sitting just really high at the moment and I already see a drop in it. Seller's price 19,195, rounded up for that for the sellers, and for the buyers saying 15,805. That is already dropping in price, so people are already starting to sell it really quickly on the market, and the price is dropping already, at least on the buyer side. Last week's price for the buyer side was 18,051 for that, so we have already a pretty big drop on that. That was last week a record price, so and now we are clearly dropping in price on here. A pretty rapid drop from like 2,200 per unit. That's a pretty rapid drop. Then let's look at some regular salvage from amarr. Armor plates starting to go back up again. Has been going up pretty much this whole week, sitting around to 73, 74, 73 and a half. It looks like it's sitting on that for pretty much the whole week. And actually today we're sitting a lot lower, below the 70,000, but it's early. But there was a little bit of a spike here yesterday, a little bit more sales than normal. The average sitting more on this line, a little bit above it, but this is definitely a little bit more sales on that. We can clearly see armor plates was trying to go up again in price after this spike here. It's not gonna happen because it is looking like it's always starting to drop again, so that's not gonna happen. For the sellers, we're seeing 77,996 for that. For the buyers, we're 67,511.71 on that. That is a drop. 71,033 was last week's price, so clearly that price is dropping on that. And surprisingly, it's a record bottom price for armor plates since the beginning of 2015. Record bottom price of armor plates now since 2015, beginning of 2015. Then burn logic circuits, still going up for almost a month now. You see that on the increase in price. It looks like we're getting a little bit of stabilization here on price, so it looks like we're gonna hit the top price pretty soon. I don't think we're gonna beat the record prices, but it is getting close. It's not even visible on the chart here. It's going to 45,000 per unit. It needs to be way high to beat the record price on that, but it looks like we're definitely starting to more stabilize here on price around the 50,000 per unit. Expecting this to start dropping somewhere in the next week, unless there's no supply coming on the market and the price will go up even more. You never know what's gonna happen in EVE. 52,987.47 for the sellers and 50,103 for the buyers. That is higher than last week's. 49,201 was last week's price, so we have still an increase in that, but no record prices has been broken here. Friday interface circuits has been trying to go up this week. You see clearly for 3 days we're sitting around 3,500 per unit. Like I said, for 3 days been sitting there. Then we had suddenly pretty big sales here. Someone said, oh, pretty good price for this, let's sell a bunch to fulfill those orders, and the price got pushed down after that back to the 3,000 towards a normal price, and sitting there now for flat for 3 days. I was sitting that on the day before that, so someone was very smart seeing this price for like sitting for the third day on that. He thought, it's not moving, I sell my stuff, push the price down to 3,000 again. Good choice of that one, of that person. So back to a normal price of 3,000. Expecting this also next week, staying around that price and not going to do too much. There's not a lot on the market that's going to be above more than 500 units. Because this is the first one, 3,598. Has more than 500 units. That's really the first one. And for the buys, like I said, 3,000. Slightly higher than last week's. 2,901 was last week's price. So it's just 100 higher than that. Melted capacitor consoles. Yeah, what to say about it? It's very stable. You see a little bit of spike here again up to the 8,000. Someone wants some melted capacitor consoles in again. Then after that straight drop towards the 7,500. It's just sitting there for like 2 weeks now with a regular spike up towards the 8,000 on that. So very, very stable. It's even surprising here that for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days there's not even a lower price has been there for melted capacitor consoles being sold. It has not been sold below the 7,500 here for all those days. They did get a little bit higher, but not lower. That's really, really surprisingly. You always see someone selling somewhere in the region for a lower price, but that even has not happened like for all these days, for these 5 days. It's really, really surprising. You can see clearly here it did happen. This was the lowest price here that it got sold, and for today we're sitting even all the way here at the 6,000. So someone, if I look at the table, someone did sold some of that. Yeah, the lowest price for 6,000. So you can clearly see here for a few days it just hasn't been below that. So yeah, very stable around the 7,500 per unit. I'm also expecting this one to stay there around the next week. More than 500 units, almost 8,000 per unit, 7,998 rounded up for the sellers. For the buyers, we're sitting at 7,500 per unit. Not a really huge order. We can quickly go down to 7,300 per unit. Price exactly the same as last week. Trip power circuits had a little bit of an uptrend in the beginning of the week, and price a little bit higher. After that, it started suddenly making a drop again towards the 70,000 per unit, and trying to go back up. You can clearly see here for the Saturday back up towards the 18,000 per unit. But for today, it's already decided to go back towards the 70,000 per unit. So it's trying to drop in price here clearly. Expecting probably next week we see maybe a drop in the price of trip power circuit, because it is trying here for twice now, even 3 times in a month, trying to go down. Here was even 16,000, but it is going straight away back up again towards the 18,000 per unit. It's trying to drop, but it's not happening. 70,950 for the sellers and 17,020 for the buyers. That is a drop in price. 18,321 was last week's price, so that has been gone down. Then we're gonna look at Plex. It's not going down anymore, it's still going up in price. We are crossing the 880 million per unit again. We are heading even towards the 900 million per unit again. I'm so hoping it's gonna stay below the 1 billion ISK. But don't think there are any Plex sales happening at the moment. I can quickly look. Just the homepage will do. There were some fixes. I don't seem to be any Plex sales is happening anymore. I'm not even sure if I should be looking at this one, but it's the quickest one I can think of. Oh wait, there's oh, no, I thought I saw a Plex button there down below, but it doesn't look like we have any Plex sales, and you can clearly see that it's starting to push the price up again of Plex. It's trying definitely to get towards the 900 million again. I think we're definitely gonna reach that price pretty soon. But I'm really hoping it's gonna stay below the 1 billion ISK for price. 913.8 million ISK for the sellers. 880.855. 880 million 855,000 for the buyers. That is definitely a little bit higher. 862 million was last week's price, so it is going up in price. It's not going really rapidly up, because last week's price was right here. So this is all 1 1 1 1 2, and these are 2 and 3. So probably someone had 3 counts, but just a supply. But it is starting to push itself up again. I think we're definitely gonna reach somewhere next week. We're gonna reach on the buyer's price a 900 million for that, for Plex again. So this was this week's look at the amarr market. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you like it, press the like button. You're really gonna help me out to get even more viewers on this. And we see you all next week again. We're gonna take a look at the market here in amarr. Thanks for watching, and see you all next week. Fly safe.